it's not going great so far. I've played the main event 3 times. I didn't get above 35,000 chips. When you start with 30,000 chips, I didn't even really have any interesting hands. I didn't have any big decisions or big spots. I did lose like 2 or 3 flips that were for a decent stack, but there wasn't anything where it's even really worth talking about. So I just played the 500. The field was great. It was quite a fast tournament, kind of interesting hand. Middle position opens to 4.5k at 2k big blind. I'm in the hijack with ace-10 offsuit with the ace of diamonds and the 10 of spades. I free bet off a 50k stack, 45 to 50k stack from 4.5 to 11k. He calls, so pot's 27. Comes jack of diamonds, 8 of diamonds, 4 of brick. He checks, I bet 5k into 27, he calls. The turn is a 6, which is not a great card. I still beat some stuff, some queen 10 suited, 9 10 suited. I decide to check back. Now the stacked pot, I've got 32.5k and the pot's 37k. The river is a king, so now my king queen gets there, my ace king gets there. If I was checking back with jacks or aces with the ace of diamonds, which I would do, I guess that's probably it, but it's pretty hard for me to find bluffs with this line as well, because a lot of my hands that take this line will want to showdown. My ace queen might just jam pre-flop as well, because I don't want to free bet fold. So I decided that this hand was too good not to bluff, and I wasn't sure about size, but he snap checked the river, so I really thought he's got showdown. He's probably got slightly worse than a jack. I thought he had like pocket 9s or an 8 or a hand around there somewhere, maybe pocket 7s. But I thought he was like weak showdown sort of style, so I went for the 16.5k bet instead of the full 32.5k jam. He tanks for ages and goes, if you've got ace king, you've got ace king, calls. And he has 6-5 offsuit. So, pretty annoying. Raise calls the 3 bet and then finds the call on the river. But I went down to like 5 big blinds. The cutoff jammed 12 big blinds or 10 big blinds, and I cycled off my stack with queen 8 offsuit and lost the flip against 5s. I think I'm like 0 for 4 in flips so far, and I'm now gonna go play the 2k high roller and run much better.
It's a good start.
I went back to play day 2 of the high roller today. I managed to last 1 orbit with my 20 big blinds. The trip's not going great so far, but strangely I don't feel that bad. I think it's because I ran pretty well online this week, so it's still a good week, and it's almost like it gives you that buffer of mental difficulty with poker, because if it's going badly and it's going badly and it's going badly, it does really take its toll. It goes well, it's almost like you've got that room for, it doesn't matter if it goes badly for a while now, because it's gone well so recently. So I think that's why when people go on heaters, they seem to keep doing well, because it's like your confidence is just more maintained even through running badly, which is a really nice position to be in. So the trip's not going great so far. Busted the main 3 times, busted the 500, now busted the high roller twice. I'll quickly run through some interesting hands that happened. It was a bit more interesting in this tournament than the other ones, but still nothing too crazy. There was one hand where the hijack opens to 2.5 bigs at 200, 400, 400, so he opens to 1,000. The button calls. I decide to call a small blind with king 8 suited, which I think is fine. I think I could squeeze, but the guy that opened and the person on the button seemed the type to probably be a bit sticky versus a squeeze, and my hand is fine as a call. The big blind folds. It comes king 9 8, 2 hearts. I have king 8 of diamonds, so I flop 2 pair. I decide to lead for 1,300 into about 3,600. The initial raiser calls and the other player folds, so the pot's now 5,400 and he's got 12,100. It turns the 2 of hearts, which is not ideal because obviously he turns a flush a lot, and that means I'm pretty dead. And at this stacked to pot ratio, I thought at 2.5 stacked to pot, when I have flushes myself and stuff like that, then I can probably bet and get called by worse. But if he shows aggression on the river, it's going to be kind of dicey. So I was thinking, do I want to bet now? Do I want to check and then just blast rivers? Or I think there's kind of a few options to navigate this. So I decided to bet 2,400 into 5,400, and he jams 12,100 relatively quickly. Obviously that's not ideal, but at the same time, he should never jam a nut flush because it's just such a secure, strong hand. He shouldn't really jam 2 pair or sets and stuff like that, because they're kind of awkward bluff catching hands now. I think a lot of people do go with hands like ace king with a heart, aces with a heart, king queen with a heart, because they're just like, whatever, I've got enough equity now, I don't want to face a hard decision. I also think a lot of his combo draws will raise the flop at this stacked pot ratio. So if he has Jack 10 of hearts, if he has 6-7 of hearts, if he has some nut flush draws, a lot of them will just raise the flop to get it in, or like raise flop jam turn if he's still got the draw. I'm always ahead on the flop pretty much with my flop size. Like, it's rare he's trapping. Every now and again, I guess he might have kings, but I didn't expect it with the way he called the flop. I thought he was on like the weaker side, and then turn doesn't change that much, so I thought I have to call. I don't think he has enough flushes, so I did call, and he had ace of hearts 6. So he opened really wide, and then he floated the flop really wide, turned the nut flush draw, and then I get to call off being way ahead, and I held, so that was pretty nice. I got from 30k to 41k for day 2, and then in my first hand on the button, I opened to 4k, playing 41k. The big blind makes it 14k, and he's playing just over my stack, so this is pretty big polarized free bet, which normally means his bluffs. It's the guy that won the 5k high roller, who I don't really know, but I've got to give him the respect that he's capable of bluffing here, and he doesn't just have like the queens plus type range. Ace king probably wants to just jam pre. Maybe ace king suited can free bet and juice sometimes, but I think at this depth in the big blind, people are going to be a lot more are going to be polar. So he's going to have some like offsuit king x sometimes, or some offsuit ace x as bluffs, although some of them can just jam and they can call, obviously. So it's already dicey with king queen. In theory, I know I can just jam, but I decided to call because I dominate bluffs, and I feel like I'm just gonna get snapped a lot when I go all in there. And I think if I flop a king or a queen, obviously I just have to go broke. Or if I flop a draw. The flop is jack 8 brick with 2 diamonds. I have king queen with a diamond. So I think if he chooses a normal bet size of like 5th pot or less, then I have to probably flow one with the 2 overs and the backdoor diamonds. But he bets really big and lets me off the hook. He bets a 3rd pot, which I think is too big with any hand there, but I just get to fold. It's just the mystery bounty left now. But obviously that's the most fun one, and there's still a decent sweat to get out of it, but I'm feeling surprisingly good. Ready to play one more tournament and then back to the online streets. I'm back from the Irish Open. In the week, I managed to play 7 tournaments. I didn't cash any tournaments. The fields were really great. There was a lot of people doing some very crazy stuff. There's one hand that has stayed with me from the mystery bounty where I think it was a bad bluff in theory, but it might be a good bluff in practice. So I'm gonna actually go on my computer now, run it in a solver, and see what we can figure out about it. Okay, so this is a hand I played in the mystery bounty. I'm gonna quickly run it in this GTO solver. I'll quickly tell you before I run it what my thoughts are. I raise with a pair of kings, +1, 8-handed. It's 200, 400, 400. I've got 50 to 60 big blinds. Both of the blinds call, so the pot is 3,400. It comes ace king queen with ace king of spades, queen of something else. I bet 2,000 into 3,400. The small blind calls, so the pot's 7.4k. Turn is the 2 of spades. Not a great card, but my hand is still good a lot of the time. There's a lot of value to still be had. So I decided to bet on the smaller side. I bet 2.6 into 7.4. And now the small blind goes for the check raise to 8k. I call, obviously. He's now representing hands which are better than mine, but, or maybe sometimes even might have queens. I don't know. He's pretty much saying he's got a better hand already, but we have loads of outs and we can be ahead of bluff, so it's an easy call. The river is an 8, so a complete brick, and he jams 12,300 into 23,400. And I thought my kings are a bad bluff catcher because he does have loads of flushes. He called small blind, so there's loads of suited connectors, some suited gappers, and just heaps of flushes in there that makes sense for him to have. Also, if he's going to bluff, I think the hands people will choose first will be king jack offsuit with the jack of spades, because it just feels the cleanest, and I have 2 kings in my hand, so I block that as the best bluff. And it doesn't make sense for him to bluff with ace jack, ace 10, because they've got showdown on the turn. He doesn't really want to bluff without a spade, so then it's choosing a hand that calls the flop and raises turn, which maybe is like queen jack, queen 10 offsuit, he probably folds pre. Queen jack, he doesn't always have pre. So queen jack with a jack of spades makes sense. King jack and king 10 with a spade, does he have king 10 off pre? I just wanted to spot this under bluffed. I didn't really think about it before folding, and he showed me ace jack with the jack of spades, and I just want to figure out using the solver now. I think it's a massive overbluff because his ace jack should just call the turn. He's just got better bluff candidates, but given that I'm folding kings, does that mean the bluff is suddenly really good? So I'm just going to quickly take a look. I'm going to have the big blind folds because I think it's going to complicate the sim with free-handed. So we're just going to look at heads up for simplification. I decided to go for the small bet, which here is about 4.6. And as we can see with pocket kings, can't really go wrong with pocket kings by the looks of it. It seems like it favors a little bit of a bigger bet
but the difference is pretty negligible. So yeah, I could have sized up a little bit here with kings. I've also plugged in 60 bigs when I was a bit more shallow, so maybe that's a factor. So I bet third. What does he want to bluff raise with? So you can see here his ace jack. If you look directly at the EV, when he has ace with jack of spades, it's just making much more EV as a call. That doesn't mean it's a bad bluff, but it's just not the choice you want to make. King jack seems to be a good candidate to raise, which is where my head was at. Queen jack as well, yeah, queen jack with a spade. Nice combo to bluff with. But it's hard to find other bluffs, like pocket tens, he might have folded the flop. Same with pocket nines, and yeah, all the flushes, of course, people are going to raise with them, and yeah, it's really hard to find, like the solver's using some king 9 suited, king 8 suited, like it's kind of pulling from random places. That's a flush. So yeah, like some of these suited king X, which is, I guess, to block some of my, I don't know, to be honest. It is raising with king queen sometimes though, which is interesting, so, or ace, maybe you can have ace queen, so like the turn is like a moot point, but it's more where he's going to find his river bluffs. I'm going to choose the bigger raise size here just to get the SPRs more lined up. I call. River is the brick 8. It's like 3/4 pot for his jam. It was closer to 60% pot in my hand. There is a little bit of all-ins with the ace 10, which I think is a bit random, but it might be like a weird merge. But yeah, his queen jack is being chosen. His king jack seems to give up. Yeah, all these flushes always jam in, of course. Although some of them, I guess, are trap checking, but I think people just jam when they get there that way. It seems to be bluffing with some of these ace X, which is quite interesting. I think people won't find these bluffs as well, like, that's interesting. So now when he goes for the all-in, was I supposed to call with kings? The answer is yes, I'm supposed to pure call against that range. And I'm not making much, I'm making 0.13 against that range. But if we look again at that range of hands that he's going all in with here, it's got king 9 suited, it's got king 10 suited, it's got king 5 to king 7 suited, it's got some ace 3 to ace 7 suited. I don't give him any of these ever. He's some pocket 10s, pocket 9s, I think it folds flop, especially ranges are a bit more condensed because the flop was multi-way. All the flushes, yeah, I give him more. King jack, to be fair, I gave him more of those bluffs, and queen jack, I gave him more of those bluffs. Outside of that, I just couldn't see where the bluffs were being pulled from, and in game he had the ace jack. So is it a good spot to overbluff given I'm folding? Well, it's a weird one because it might be a good one to bluff more because I am overfolding by folding kings, but I think people struggle to anticipate how hard it is to actually find the combos. I think targeting me in this spot and deciding to go nuts with the ace 3, ace 4, ace 5, it would have worked really well because that's how I was calibrating. I was thinking they won't show it with this, but it's hard to think about. I mean, in hindsight, I'm still not sure. I mean, I folded pretty quickly. I probably should have tried to get a read and thought, does he look nervous or anything? But I just thought kings is just so marginal that I don't need to think about it. Given that he bluffed me, I was like, oh, like fair play. I've been owned there in the moment, but I don't know. Looking at the way these numbers are, this lines up with where my thoughts were. I was wondering where the bluffs came from outside of these hands. So it is interesting that it's choosing like king and ace X. I guess it makes sense. He's got more outs against the times I've got ace jack, ace 10, and maybe like a bluff pocket pair myself. So yeah, I think it makes some sense, but it's weird because like the bluff worked and I folded a really good hand, which so I love when people find these bluffs because I'm just always generally impressed by it. I think it should have been a slightly different combo choice, but all in all, you know, he made me fold a set. I would have massively overfolded. I can have still good hands. I think I was right in thinking that once he does go all in on the river, it's better for me to call with, yeah. So ace king is a better call than pocket kings. Ace queen is a better, like some hands with less showdown can be better calls in this situation based on how they interact with his bluffs. So I just really didn't want a king or a queen in my hand or a jack in my hand because I thought that's where his bluffs will come from. Or I thought if I have a spade in my hand, it'll be, if I have one of those cards as a spade, that would be like the worst. But after the hand, when I saw the bluff, I still didn't really feel bad about it. You can see here, pocket twos is a much better call. It's actually worth a lot more as a call on the river because it doesn't interact with any other bluffs, which is quite an interesting takeaway from this spot. So with pocket eights, it's just an absolute print call, even though it's less showdown than the kings, but it's effectively the same. You bluff catching. So yeah, I hope there was some stuff to be learned here. I got owned in game.
But yeah, you know, it was a fun week. The venue was great. People were great. Everyone's having a good time. It was just a great atmosphere. Good to see live poker booming again. Main event with over 2,000 players. I'm happy I went. No good this time, but I will be back for some more live poker sometime soon. So like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll see you on the next video.